This is a day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Now, this day is it's not full of sunshine. Doesn't have a sun in the sky with birds singing and so on. Well, the birds are still singing, but there are clouds. It's overcast. Not enough to rain, but overcast. Some people don't think this type of day is beautiful, but it is for its own reasons. To protect the earth from unrelenting heat, to bring a change of pace, to let us know that along with sun, there is also moisture. And in this case, in Southern California, it means it's a little bit cooler. This is not the muggy heat of someplace, let's say, like New Orleans or Texas or Florida, which is not bad, but it's a different type of phenomena. It brings coolness to the day. And from that, I take a lesson that the things that the Lord does for us, He protects us. Not that He protects us from things, but He protects us while we're going through things. That we don't lose our minds, that we don't lose our perspective, that we don't lose our hope. And I think that's a really important thing, because the things that my wife and I have experienced, I know some people have experienced more, so I won't say that we've experienced more than anyone else. We haven't. There are people who have experienced more things and more calamities and more trials. And I thank God that He's kept us from those things at this time, because maybe we wouldn't have been able to go through it, but God knew what we could bear. But these are things that we've never been through before. So we're learning how to adjust. And the Lord is so great. He wants us to be able to give Him some acknowledgement for the things that He has done for us in the midst of our trials. And this is Elder Adrian Heyman, and in the cause of being transparent, I've been over the last few days telling about things that have happened in my life that have caused such a change to take place. And not that I thank God for things, but I thank God in things. And there's a big difference. You thank God for calamity? No, you don't thank God for calamity, because you don't think that way. But we thank God while we're in calamity, that He has taught us certain things, that He has given us certain things, that He has kept certain things. And this is what we do. This is essentially a time which I didn't think was going to happen. I wasn't really thinking about this, whereas my wife being incapacitated and me taking care of her the way that I'm doing. That's not what I was thinking about when we said our vows, to be honest. Of course, there's always a possibility, but who thinks this way? But the day is here, and you do it. Some days are sad, some days are happy, and it's okay. Because Lord is teaching us certain things while we're going through. And where I last left off was we got back home from Florida. The Lord allowed me to get home with with being able to, with a great assistance from my aunt who paid for the tickets for me to get home. I never will forget that. She's always been there. She's always loves the concept of family. And she said, well, you're family. I just have to do it for you. And I was almost in tears when she said that. Because she didn't have to. And to be honest, we were the church. I could have asked for the church, but my thinking was this. The church was trying to get a place. We were about to nail down a place, or trying to get a place where we could call our own. We were still at school in Long Beach, Cubberley School. And I know that anything extra would take away from that drive to get a place that we can call our own. I didn't want to, and people were telling me, well, you should do GoFundMe. But that meant that I would be asking people to give me things that they really weren't budgeting for, especially the church. I love the church. I love my church. I love my pastor. I love my first lady. I love people that are in it. And I didn't want to have anything that would take away from the objective of us getting a place, which now we have. We have a place. Now we have a place that we call our own, but now we are trying to get through the process of actually buying it outright, which would mean that everything is ours. And the Lord would bring us it would be a great blessing for us and for his kingdom. But to just let you know that I did not want to infringe on that. So I didn't want to do a GoFundMe page or ask the church for any extra funds, or my pastor. My pastor's already, he's one that puts more in the church than anyone. I know that. He doesn't even have to show me his receipts. I just know it. Puts his blood, sweat, and money into the church because it's his. It's what the Lord has given him. And he believes in it. And I thank God that he does. In any case, so we're now back from Florida. We're going back and forth to the hospital, back and forth. There's always something going on. Until the last time that they actually finally took out her peritoneal catheter, because she kept getting infected through that particular tube. And they put in a catheter near her chest, which was essentially to begin the dialysis process until they can find a place for her fistula. Those of you that know that are in dialysis, you know about that. You know about fistulas and so on. But in case you don't know, a fistula is a place on your arm. It could be the upper arm or lower arm, where they move veins, or they move veins or arteries close to the surface so that a needle can be inserted there during the dialysis process. I didn't know all this until my wife first started doing it. And even though it is the quickest way to cleanse someone's blood, it's also very taxing. People are very tired afterwards. I can see why. But anyway, they asked me if I wanted her to, if they wanted her to have some therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. I said, yes, sure. So they gave me this place in Baldwin Park, which is not that close to my house. At maybe in the 20 minutes at least it takes to get there. And that's if there's no traffic. Of course, if there's traffic, it's much longer. And I was wondering, Lord, how can I do this? How can I be there every day? It's not like I'm going down the street, but I'm going over the mountains, into a valley, and across the valley to a particular place. And the Lord just kept saying, I'll give you strength. I'll give you strength. I'll give you strength. And so I made it up in my mind that I would see her every day. And not just for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, because she needed someone to take her to dialysis now that she had on this catheter that's close to her heart. I had to make sure that she goes there. So when that took place, when they moved her, my point was making sure she was okay, getting her to dialysis, and pretty much staying with her. And the dialysis days were, I think, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And the idea was me just going there and making sure she was okay. So I started on a routine. Between 9 and 10 o'clock, I would be at the nursing center. I'd get her, pick her up. If I had to go to dialysis on that day, then we'd go to dialysis. Stay dialysis to around 2 o'clock. Leave dialysis. Sometimes she did not want to get back to her bed, and I understood why, because it's kind of depressing. So we'd go driving. We'd drive all over. We drive a different route all over the San Gabriel Valley. Sometimes all the way over to La Cañada to the west. Sometimes all the way over to San Bernardino to the east. Sometimes we go over the Puente Hills and to Whittier and so on. Sometimes we go other places. But the time that I spent with my wife just driving, it was good. It kept me at peace. Just being with her kept me at peace. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. Then I take her, make sure I try to get her back before dinner. Dinner was at 5. A few times I missed that time, but I would get it in anyway. Then I spent a few moments with her after dinner, and usually she'd fall asleep around 7. I'd leave at 8. If she doesn't fall asleep, I'll let her know that I'm going, and that's when it really hurt, because she didn't want me to go. She would cry because she didn't want to be there anymore, and I understood why. They treated her very nicely. She had a great nurse, cycle of nurses, people that cared for her, but she just wanted to go home, and I understand that. But I couldn't get her home at that time. Not until they said that she was ready to go. They gave me a maximum of 100 days to stay there, for her to stay there. I couldn't stay there, of course. But she stayed there 2 months. She got there in October, she left in December. And my family pretty much knew that that's where I was all the time. Except for maybe a few times I may have had to run some errands or have a doctor's appointment, whatever it was. But I always made my way back. I didn't just miss a day. Never missed a day. In fact, most of the appointments were during time she was in dialysis, so the idea was leave there and then get back before dialysis is over. Okay. She improved to the point where she could stand up for a little bit. While I transferred her from her wheelchair to the car and so on, learned to pivot, and she would help with that. And she used her strength to stand up on her feet. That's good. But it was a new reality. It was a new reality. And much as I wanted her to be able to walk and jump and shout and praise God and everything else, it began to sink in that that may not be the case for a while. And I had to be happy with the small improvements that were made. One time she would say more words. Another time she'd maybe stand up for a longer period of time than normal. Another time she would do something else that I was kind of surprised that she was doing. Not every day was happy, no. Some days, it just hurt, but you would go through it. And the thing is that you would go through it. You would never stay in it, but you would go through it. And I learned a lot from being in that situation. I've also learned a very important point that maybe we all should know. Because my mother-in-law, Mother Mitchell, is in a nursing facility, not permanently, but how people are forgotten and they are very lonely. I think I was the one person, and they knew me by name. Mr. Heyman, thank you for coming by. They knew me because I came there every single day. Made it a point to come there every day. But some people didn't, and some people who really were in worse position, they couldn't walk, they couldn't stand up at all. If anything, they had to be carried to a place, wherever they had to do. And I would see, maybe on the weekends, maybe some sons and daughters and whatever, they come see. But most of the time they're by themselves and they're hollering and screaming. And I didn't understand before the full aspect of it, but I do now. They were lonely. They were scared. They didn't know what was going to happen to them. And so they hurt a lot. So the Lord's beginning to teach me empathy. I thought I had some, but not the way I should have. But as I'm going through my situation, seeing what's taking place, it really hit me that we should take time. And I remember Bishop Swansea used to tell us that he would go to the nursing homes and preach there. And I think I understand why now, because it wasn't that he was trying to find a time to preach, but the Lord was showing him how to show empathy for others. Empathy for people who could not move, who couldn't talk. All they can do is scream or moan. And that they're still people. They're not shells of people, they're people. And they couldn't do this. If they could do it on their own, then they wouldn't be in this nursing center. You don't see people walking all over the place. A few people could walk, but not everybody could. Some were, again, had to be carried, placed in their wheelchairs. Because they could not get up. My wife at least could get up. She'd get up out the bed, stand up, not by herself, of course, but stand up with help, and then placed in her wheelchair. And they didn't have anyone to come by, no husbands, no wives, no children. They would just be there. And the only people they had to comfort them were the nurses. It may be fellow patients who they bunked with, that maybe they were more conscious. For my wife's area, she had two other people in her room that were also isolated. And they they couldn't be of help. And it wasn't because of their fault, because they were going through their own problems, their own issues. And the Lord really began to minister to me about what things I needed more than what I thought I had. And I began to just thank God for the nurses that were there. They were very good, very professional. If there was a mishap, they called me right away. And I would dash all the way down there, no matter what time it was. It only happened once or twice. But they were very conscientious about my wife's care, maybe because I was there all the time, and so I was watching them. But whatever the reason, they made sure that she was okay. It's funny because one time they had to take her to the hospital because her blood sugar went kind of low. No, I'm sorry, it went kind of high. And even though she didn't have these symptoms of ketoacidosis, which I can let you know it's a very touchy thing to be in. You could die from it. If you have way too much sugar in your blood starts turning acidic, and it begins to cause your organs to shut down. Very, very scary situation. But it wasn't that high, but it was high enough that they were very concerned, so I knew then about Kaiser Baldwin Park. Never been to that particular facility before, but we went there, stayed a few times. And eventually, though, the time came that she had to go. And because she was in a position where, that's all that they were going to do. And that's okay. It was time for her to go anyway. And so I thanked all of the nurses, thanked the administrators, thanked all of those who were there. And it just so happened that she got sick right after she came home. So it spent the last portion of December in the hospital. But this time it was really now that you're doing this, let's start working on getting that shunt out of your chest area and getting it onto the fistula, onto a fistula that they would make. So they began the work of beginning to build up her fistula. But from that time forth, and I've been resolving not to have her go to a nursing center if I could help it. If I can't help it, I understand, but that means that I would need to know a lot about things I didn't know before. And I needed to be more patient than what I had shown before. And that would then begin once more another chapter of my life. But one last thing before I cut off on this particular section. I thank God for my aunt. Because if I didn't have my aunt, I probably wouldn't be able to go to church during that time. Because I needed someone to watch over it. I committed myself to be there with her every single day from 9 to 10 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night. That was just what I committed. But my aunt would come on Sundays. She would come on Sundays to relieve me. And because of that, I was able to go to church. I was able to participate in service. And it was such a great blessing that I was able to, because sometimes you feel like you're just not part of anything. You've lost touch with everybody, and you just feel strange because you're just not there like everybody else is there. But my aunt made sure she came to relieve me so I can go to church. So I didn't take advantage of it. I didn't stay until 4 or 5 o'clock, no. As soon as service was over, I found my way to my car. And because my aunt has health challenges herself, but she pushed herself to relieve me. So I didn't want to take advantage of it. But I thank her for her care for me, for caring, knowing that she had others, her own children that she had to take care of, had to make sure that they were okay. And she did that every single Sunday that I was at the nursing facility. And for that, I thank her so much. I'm not blaming anyone for not coming. I'm not blaming anyone for that they didn't do that. They had their own reasons, and I'm not going to. And that's another thing, too. Just because someone can't come doesn't mean that they didn't think about them, that they didn't care about them. Their responsibilities just took them away from that. And so they couldn't do it. And, of course, I had to understand that, and I did, and still do. So don't think that people who didn't see my wife didn't love her. No. She's way in Baldwin Park. My goodness. I can't have people come over and expect them to come over like that. We're just going to drop by. Plus, maybe she needed to rest anyway. But I just want to thank my aunt because she did make it her prerogative to come there, to sit with Marcy, to laugh with Marcy. Times Marcy made her laugh. My wife made her laugh. And she was telling me how they were laughing and so on. And she began to eat a lot. So her weight was gaining and so on. Because for a good while, it was down in the 90-pound range. And that's not good. And I found out that because of that, her hair was falling out. I remember, oh goodness, she's not getting new nutrition, so her hair is breaking off. But as she began to gain weight, she began to get more hair back. But again, that was just another session or another section where the Lord wanted me to be. And His teaching us through all circumstances to depend on Him, to have faith in Him. That's why I praise, because He kept us. So, until tomorrow, that's this section of what we do. And God is great. And thank you for putting up with me and talking about, yammering about my wife. But love you all. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day, excuse me. Have a wonderful day in Jesus' name.